Hello and welcome to another interactive and educative episode of AAU Talks on AAU TV. My name is Ajaman Ochrodako, and today our topic for you and for our discussion today is education in Africa, the case of pre-tertiary students and schools in Africa, basically the welfare of senior high schools in Africa. We believe that point in time is a deciding moment where students will either rise to universities or other technical universities to gain more skills for the workforce. And if things are not done so well over there, how would that affect their future and their excellence in life? So today we have on this interview Madam Adjoase. She is the project manager for Learning Support Solutions in Ghana, and we'll be having a discussion with her on her point of view, her perspective towards education in Africa, the case of pre-tertiary students in Africa. So if you can hear me, Madam Adjoase, you're welcome to AAU Talks.
Thank you very much.
Start with the first one about how you've seen senior high school education in Africa and COVID-19. We know it's been a big issue where students were asked to go home for a very long time and learning was a bit dormant. From your point of view, what did you observe the gap between these times with COVID-19 and then senior high schools in Africa?
Well, I can only speak from the point of view of the NGO that I run. Right. And I work with primary schools and junior high schools. Okay. So of course I see the senior high school students when they have, left, what we do, they have left the junior high school. And basically what we do is we try and train them as much as possible in learning how to use ICT for what they do.
Sure.
So we call it interactive teaching and learning with ICT. So when we first started, the idea was that they would have a very interactive session with their teachers, and this would help in their with ICT. So we think it's very important, able sometimes to, when I say child, I mean student, sorry. Exactly. The child is able to learn at his or her own pace and find out things for his or herself, So it's quite an interesting time, the JHS time, because this is when they need to decide whether, well, do I want to go for a straight academic course in university, or do I want to do some vocational education and so on? So it's quite it's a very interesting time.
Okay. Considering your NGO Learning Support Solutions and the role you play there, can you give us the background? What is Learning Support Solutions and how did it come about?
Well, I used to work for ISA, Institute of Statistical Social Economic Research. I also worked in the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research and an organization called the Technology Transfer Center. So there we worked with industry more, and we could see how the lack of knowledge of technology, bothered the industrialists. They wanted to use more technology, but they didn't know about it, and so on. And then I worked for UNICEF, and when I'm working in UNICEF, I was the Assistant Project Officer for Education. Okay. So I saw a lot of schools again. And then I worked for the UN System Staff College. This was in Italy. And there we saw, it was more UN staff trying to learn how to train other UN staff on some of Kofi Annan's, new thoughts about training in the UN. So training is very important. But for our particular case in the schools, we think it is a faster way of learning because we try and focus on the pupil and the teacher being in interactive roles. rather than the teacher standing over the student and saying, repeat after me, repeat after me. So by the time they get to SHS, as you were saying, yes, it's a good time for them to know basically, and whether they want to go into university, because there are lots of vocational institutes which are very, very well run now. So, you know, I come across quite a few students that I worked with in primary school who are now in vocational institutions, and they prefer them. And so it's an interesting time, as you say, in SHS. It's a sort of pivotal time when they would choose what exactly it is they want to do.
Great.
And I think
with regards to performance,
I beg your pardon.
Yes, I was pointing the issue of performance of these students in the senior high schools in times like these. You have been able to make technology a commonplace for the students that you work with, you have at the Learning Support Solutions Center. But we're looking at how technology and the use of computer laptops are that common in our senior high schools, unlike the universities that we have every student for a laptop for your assignments and then online calls in these times. But how can we say it's in the case of senior high school students? Why don't we, what is your view in terms of infusing that much technology, the use of laptops and other gadgets in making learning as usual, learning move on as usual, unlike the universities?
Well, I think we have to be inventive. You know, I mean, I see nothing wrong in using second-hand computers. And currently, the junior high schools we work with, 2 of the 3 junior high schools we work with, we have desktops. I personally prefer desktops for schools, not for any other reason that it's difficult to carry a desktop away. When there are laptops, it's like, oh, let me just take your means of transport and take it home. So we try, I mean, we learned by, you know, through the hard way that it's good to get desktops. And when they are secondhand, they are not so expensive. A friend of mine who lives in Europe, he's always saying, Ajwa, go and wrestle the, you know, go and talk to the embassies and tell them to
Okay, Ajwa, we are glad to have you back on our interview, and we want to proceed with what we were asking you earlier on. So tell us about Learning Support Solutions. The impact you are making on the students over there compared to senior high schools, how can we scale up what you're doing to that level? For the case study at Learning Support Solutions, what are some of the curricula, the strategies you are using to build these young minds, and how can that be scaled on to senior high school students in Africa from your perspective?
One thing which I am not supposed to be speaking about, but I don't think it happens at the SHS level, is corporal punishments. I think it is totally unnecessary. I think it turns primary school students and JHS students away from school.
Okay.
But even at the SHS level, you know, you come across some teachers who also say, this child, well, or this young man misbehaved and he has to be caned. Now, there are 2 schools of thought. One school of thought is that by the very fact of our constitution and what our constitution shows, no child should be caned.
Sure.
And then there's another school of thought which says, oh, but technically it's legal and maybe it should be done only by the headmaster, but some students need to be caned. I don't think we should have a climate of fear in our senior secondary schools.
Yeah.
Yes. And there should be a climate of people engaging to work together.
Do you think that this corporal punishment aspect has anything to do when it comes to performance? Does it affect performance in any way?
I don't understand. Do you mean does it improve it or does it?
Yeah, does it improve performance of students in senior high schools, or does it actually distract or, let's say, reduce performance? Because from your point of view, you eschew corporal punishment and you think that it builds the confidence of students to actually draw closer to their teachers, tutors, and also give them that confidence to explore themselves more. However, you were saying that if we eliminate...
Sorry.
Sure. So from your point of view, eschewing corporal punishment has a role to play in building on the confidence of students to explore more. On the other hand, if we still continue with that, it actually subdues the confidence of these students and actually takes them away from the people they can be acquiring knowledge from. And I'm asking if the punishment, it being there or not, has any role to play in terms of building the students' performance, increasing their performance and making them much more excellent on one way or the other.
Well, I think it does. I think everybody behaves, when they're more relaxed, they behave better out of the classroom because of something that, the student is perceived to have been done.
Yes.
And it's very strange. I knew this gentleman. He's no longer alive, but he was one of our first engineers, and he was excellent at what he did. And he said, oh, I don't see what's wrong with the corporal punishment. When I was a child, and I couldn't remember my times table, knowing that the cane was there helped me improve my mind, And so he said, I never thought that it was a problem. But not everybody has, a very sharp mind, a very skilled. So I think it doesn't do well for cooperation. It's difficult to cooperate with children if they are feeling humiliated, or if they are feeling resentful.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I think. I know some people won't agree with me, but that's what I think.
Sure, and we want your perspective. So regarding this case then, if we're trying to take technology to senior high schools, these students were sent home. Some people were not able to learn because they don't have the gadgets to do so. And we're not used to using these gadgets to learn on campus. So when one person has the homework or the assignment, we'll have to share with everybody through some very unconventional means. How do you think technology can be, how do you think in this case we can provide these machines and make it a working policy, like how universities do so? You complain about laptops getting missing, but rather we should use desktops. How can we administer that in this case? Because COVID-19 means we should be far from each other with some distance and then have learning going on. We will need devices which are mobile and not stationary. So how can this happen in this case if we don't have laptops available on these campuses, but rather we have desktop computers from your point of view?
Yes. Oh, no, I mean, the desktop was just to show that, if you're desperate and, you can't afford laptops, then go for desktops. I mean, that's what I was trying to say. Okay. But, where there is a will, there's a way. One of the schools I work with, it's sort of between Nima and Mamobi. And it's they're very low income people. But the teachers, when the lockdown happened, the teachers immediately started working with the JHS students. They say, you have to submit assignments. What happened? A few parents had smartphones. So the teachers would meet, they would meet, online and choose a subject. And this subject, the topic was sent to the parent who had a smartphone, a small smartphone, but still a smartphone. And then it was given to all the class children. And they managed to write it. They had to write it out, by themselves. They had to write it out. They had to, then a picture was taken of the paper that the child had written.
Yeah.
It was then sent by, mobile to the teacher. It was very laborious, but it worked.
Great. So there are some kinds of.
I was so stressed because, I beg your pardon.
Sure, you don't end it.
Yes, I said I was so surprised because the sort of thing I would say, oh, can you please do this? And I had no idea. It was almost when it was the end of holidays that I said, what have you been doing with yourself? And they said, oh, we've been doing this. And I said, why didn't you tell me? They said, oh, and we don't want to worry you. And I said, but you need data because this is a lot of data that is being sent back and forth. And then they started laughing. They said that after some time, the students started grumbling that, it's enough. All this, we are not even able to, the few smartphones that we have, we are not even able to look and look at Shatawale and what kind of life is this? So unless you bribe us with data, we are not going to do any more work. So they bribed them. But I think it was a bribe. I don't approve of bribery, but this was the good type of bribery. So, it's difficult when things are hard, when, you have to, as a long time ago, somebody said, the sparker won't spark, the generator won't gen, to tell teachers, oh, try and look for methods. But, you never know when the child that you help today will be the child who will save your life in a hospital tomorrow.
Sure.
So this was a completely, we are the ones who are always talking about, use what we have. But these teachers just went ahead and did this. So they got a lot of work done during the pandemic. And of course, it means there wasn't much social distancing. But even now, if you go to Nima, there's not that much social distancing and they seem fine.
We have a concept called a bring your own device concept where you have your own device, you bring it to school and then you study with it and then you take it back. Do you think this system will work in a place like a pre-tertiary level with students who are not managed or not deemed to be fully matured to handle their own affairs? Unlike the tertiary institutions where we are autonomous, we're on our own, but at the senior high level, they are still under some control, which actually subdues their ability to think on their own and critically analyze things for themselves. Do you think there should be this big change to turn them around to be people who think on their feet to make their own decisions about their academics in this case?
I didn't get that. You said
sure.
The issue is that they should be able to bring
their own device, yes.
And then bring it back.
Yes, their own device for learning and then take it back, like how we do it in universities. But there are some arguments that they are not yet matured. They will not use it for the learning. They will use it to watch videos and other things that don't connote for learning. How can we debunk this kind of perceptions that they are not mature to make their own decisions when it comes to academia? And so we still go back to traditional ways of learning for them, whilst we could use the bring your own device method. What is your point of view to this?
Personally, I think discussion is always very useful, It's always extremely useful, and you would be surprised at what young people can make up their mind to do. But in this case, it would involve, speaking with their guardians. But
Sure.
that's why we have staff meetings. I don't think it would be such a bad idea. The problem is whether the child themselves will have time to do homework. What level would this be? What year?
Well, it can start at the first year. All they need, I think, all they need is the right orientation and the data provision. That's all they need, and security for their devices. No,
Talking about SHS.
yes, senior high school level 1.
Oh yes, I think they would. I think they're mature enough, but it's always useful to bring in guardians and parents. I'm a great believer in proper meetings with the staff and with guardians to say, this is what we are doing now. It is an experiment. We count on you to make sure that, or to ensure that, this is being used for the right things, and that the child will bring it back. I don't like using the word child, but I just trying to distinguish between the carer and the students.
Exactly.
Discussions are always very, very useful. If you just make a law and say this should happen, I mean, it sounds good, but when you back it with discussions, when you back it with notes which are written down, I think it's useful.
True.
I would say it would be useful.
That is great.
The problem with some children is that they, in urban areas, poor communities, where they are supposed to sell things, and so it's an issue of time. But all these things are things which can be put on the table for discussion. Things can be discussed. For instance, in rural areas, sometimes communities have problems because they have to do planting, or they have to do harvest in a particular time. And the teacher will say, no, this is the time you should be in school. But in the Ghana Education Service, it is quite acceptable for a community to say, this is not the right time for us to let all our children go, and nobody's going to be helping us to harvest. So we want to postpone it. Discussion is very, very useful when it comes to education.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
A similar, issue.
Exactly. I want us to wrap up basing on the experience you have at Learning Support Solutions. You have quite the way they learn very faster with technology that you have introduced it there. If you were to suggest something new that could encircle the entire senior high sector, let's say in the whole of Africa, that what should be the new kind of learning in Africa when it comes to the pre-tertiary level? What would you want us, government, policymakers, to start preparing to institute into the learning curricula or learning mode when it comes to pre-tertiary level to boost performance? Because right from there, they are going to universities. What do they need in terms of your perspectives? What should we institute into these levels for them to be very, very functional when it comes to the tertiary levels and also for the job field? If you were to advise.
I would promote discussion at the classroom level.
Okay.
Instead of what we call, chalk and talk, where you take a chalk and you write on the blackboard and the child has to repeat. We sometimes ask students, what makes it difficult for you to come to school? And well, the number one thing that they said was caning. We asked 2 separate schools. They just said, sometimes you get up in the morning and you say, I'm not going to school because something will happen. The teacher will be bad with the friend. But another thing that they liked was they didn't like being bored. And when you have to copy something down from the blackboard and then take it before you take it home, and then what they do is instead of individual desks, they have desks as in, you see in class 1, where they work together and they discuss together.
Yeah.
I think, and it's the same in university. I think sometimes you just assume that, class 3, 4, grade 4, if you let them, they'll just talk and talk and talk and talk. They won't discuss. But I think teaching the child, or, exposing the child to a situation where they actually discuss with somebody else next to them, and then somebody reports on their behalf, is also very useful. When we do brainstorming, we call it brainstorming.
Sure.
We have a situation where there are certain rules, and one rule is that nobody gets laughed at.
Yeah.
There's no laughter at all. Whatever anybody says, nobody gets laughed at. You don't even raise your hand. You just shout. If the teacher has a problem, you shout it out. The teacher writes it down. It's discussed by everybody. And this was done in a class 4. And when the teacher came back to report, he said it was amazing. I mean, everybody contributed. Usually there are some children who never contribute. Sure. But whether it was knowing that everybody contributed, there was laughter. And she said that, and we finished the lesson much faster than we usually do. We finished it really less faster than we usually do. So discussions are useful. Children may not be used to, or students may not be used to having this kind of thing, but they complain about just sitting and looking forward and talk and talk. It appeals to their sense of being adults. I think it's a good idea.
Great. Thank you very much, Madam Adjoase, for your time and for your submissions on how we can enhance education in the pre-tertiary level with technology and also a much more interactive educational mode and not the other way around. Thank you very much for your time. Do you have any final message you want to bring on board? All right.
And sorry about Rashidi Light.
Exactly. Yeah, we are glad you made it back to the show.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for watching the show on AU Talks and we had Madam Adjoase. She is the project manager for the Learning Support Solutions Center in Ghana, a great institution that is really roping in technology to help promote education and enhance technical education when it comes to technology learning and all that. And it's good having her on the show to discuss how we can also rope in technology and other educational methods to help build our pre-tertiary levels in Africa and also Ghana as well. Thank you very much for watching. You're bringing your comments and also how you can also contribute to the discussion, how we could also use technology to improve education in Africa with regards to the pre-tertiary levels in Africa. My name is Ajamal Chudako and I was your host on AU Talks. Tune in for more programs on AU Talks on AU TV. Have a nice day and bye.
Good day, Africa. This is Event Update on AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. Event Update is all about information on upcoming higher education events and scholarship opportunities in Africa, and it is brought to you by the Association of African Universities. My name is Isabella Tetahinakwa.
Je suis Imelda Amoudji.
The Association of African Universities, AAU, is pleased to invite you to its 15th General Virtual Conference hosted by the Government of Ghana under the theme, The Future of African Higher Education, which is scheduled from 5th to 8th July 2021. Sub-themes to be discussed are the future of African higher education post-COVID-19, contribution of African higher education institutions to address the challenges linked to the COVID-19 pandemic, contribution of the diaspora to African higher education, and many more. Expected participants are ministries of higher education, researchers and research organizations in Africa and beyond, academics, regional educational bodies, diasporans and their institutions who have interest in African higher education, Regional Economics Commission, REX, students, among others. The AAU is also inviting authors to submit papers on the general conference theme and its sub-themes. This should include names, institutional affiliations, contact details of authors, and paper title. Interested applicants are to register via the link on the screen before 15th June 2021. And for more information, email secgen@aau.org and copy info@aau.org or visit www.events.aau.org/gencon.
L'Association des universités africaines, l'AUA, est heureuse de vous inviter à sa 15e conférence virtuelle générale organisée par le gouvernement du Ghana sous le thème « L'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain » qui est prévu du 5 au 8 juillet 2021. Les sous-thèmes à discuter sont l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain post-Covid-19, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains pour relever les défis liés à la pandémie de Covid-19, contribution de la diaspora à l'enseignement supérieur africain et bien d'autres. Les participants attendus sont les ministères de l'enseignement supérieur, les chercheurs et les organismes de l'enseignement, recherche en Afrique et au-delà, les universitaires, les organismes éducatifs régionaux, les diasporans et leurs établissements qui s'intéressent à l'enseignement supérieur africain, les commissions d'économie régionale, la CER, les étudiants entre autres. L'AUA invite également les auteurs à soumettre les articles sous le thème de la conférence générale et les sous-thèmes. Cela devrait inclure les noms, l'affiliation institutionnelle, les coordonnées des autres et le titre papier. Les candidats intéressés doivent s'inscrire via le lien à l'écran avant le 15 juin 2021. Et pour plus d'informations, envoyez un courrier à secgen@aau.org et copiez info@aau.org ou encore visitez le www.event.aau.org/gencon.
The University of Marseille is inviting international students to apply for the International Postgraduate Excellence Scholarship 2021-2022 in New Zealand. This scholarship allows postgraduate level programs in the field of linguistics, arts, international development studies, and sustainable development taught at the university. Interested applicants must secure a GPA of B+ average. Every international student who is enrolled as a full fee-paying student throughout his or her study in a postgraduate program at Marseille University is eligible to this application. Applicants must first apply for the admission at Marseille University Then fill the funding form and submit to international@masse.ac.nz before 1st May 2021. Visit www.masse.ac.nz/masse/admission.
L'Université de Massé invite des étudiants internationaux à postuler aux bourses internationales d'excellence post-universitaire 2021-2022 au Nouvelle-Zélande. Cette bourse permet des programmes de niveau post-universitaire dans le domaine de la linguistique, des arts, des études et développement international et du développement durable enseigné à l'université. Les candidats intéressés doivent obtenir un GPA de moyenne B. Tous les étudiants internationaux inscrits en tant qu'étudiants payants, tout allant de son étude dans un programme de 3e cycle à l'université Massé sont éligibles à cette candidature. Les candidats doivent d'abord demander leur admission à l'université Massé, puis remplir le formulaire de financement et le soumettre à international@massé.ac.nz avant le 1er mai 2021. Visitez le www.massé.ac.nz/massé/admission pour plus d'informations.
The International Water Management Institute is calling for applications from females to apply for scholarship to study Masters of Philosophy Studies under a 5-year project dubbed Resilience Against Climate Change, Social Transformation Research and Policy Advocacy. This European Commission-funded research project is a collaboration between the International Water Management Institute, University and CSIR, Science and Technology Policy Research Institute. This project seeks to contribute to more inclusive and sustainable economic growth policy and programming approaches in the Upper West region of Ghana by January 2025. Interested applicants will be required to meet the general admission requirements of the universities, must apply to any of the universities, hold a first degree in social science or any related disciplines, and be highly motivated to pursue postgraduate studies. Applicants can apply by submitting a pre-proposal describing your proposed research idea, a brief motivation note, an application letter, CV, 2 references or recommendation letters, evidence of 2021-2022 admission, as well as copies of certificates and transcripts before 1st June 2021. Email jarawura@yahoo.com or teijoseph@yahoo.co.uk or c.osei-amponsa@cgiar.org.
L'Institut international de gestion de l'eau appelle les femmes à demander une bourse pour étudier les études master pour philosophie dans le cadre d'un projet de 5 ans intitulé « Résilience contre le changement climatique ». Recherche sur la transformation sociale et plaidoyer politique. Ce projet de recherche financé par la Commission européenne est une collaboration entre l'Institut international de gestion de l'eau, l'Université du Ghana, Centre for Migration Studies, University for Development Studies et la CSIR, Science and Technology Policy Research Institute. Ce projet vise à contribuer à une politique de croissance économique et à des approches de programmation plus inclusives et durables dans la région de Haut-Ouest du Ghana d'ici janvier 2025. Le candidat intéressé devra satisfaire aux exigences générales d'admission des universités, doit postuler dans l'une des universités, doit détenir un premier diplôme en sciences sociales ou toute discipline connexe et être très motivé pour poursuivre des études de 3e cycle. Les candidats peuvent postuler en soumettant une proposition décrivant votre idée de recherche proposée, une brève note de motivation, une lettre de candidature, un CV de référence ou des lettres de recommandation, une preuve de 2021-2022, ainsi que des copies des certificats et des transcriptions avant le 1er juin 2021. Envoyez un courriel à jaraoura@yahoo.com ou encore à tayjoseph@yahoo.co.uk ou encore c.orsay en passant @cgiaa.org.
The Institute of Applied Science and Technology at the University of Ghana is inviting you to register for their 1-month intensive training and capacity building workshop on greenhouse vegetable production. This program is to attract vegetable and fruit farmers, the youth, women and students into agriculture and to promote a more advanced and comfortable farming technology which is suitable for urban spaces. It is also to equip and build capacity of beneficiaries with the necessary knowledge and skills in protected and controlled environment agriculture. Interested applicants are to register via the link on the screen before 23rd April 2021. For more information, contact +233 541 035 469 or +233 244 046 850 or email iast@eugene.edu.gh.
L'Institut des sciences appliquées et de la technologie de l'Université du Ghana vous invite à vous inscrire à leur atelier de formation intensive de mois, renforcement des capacités sur la production de légumes de terre. Ce programme vise à attirer les producteurs de légumes et de fruits, des jeunes, des femmes et des étudiants dans l'agriculture et à promouvoir une technologie agricole plus avancée et confortable adaptée aux espaces urbains. Il s'agit également d'équiper et de renforcer les capacités des bénéficiaires avec les connaissances et les compétences nécessaires en agriculture environnementale protégée et contrôlée. Les candidats intéressés doivent s'inscrire via le lien à l'écran avant le 23 avril 2021. Pour plus d'informations, contactez le +233 54 10 35 469 ou encore le +233 244 046 850 ou encore envoyer un courrier à iast@ug.edu.gh.
The African German Network of Excellence in Science, AGNES, is pleased to announce the call for applications for 2 of their funding programs. AGNES program advocating women in science, technology, engineering and mathematics, PALS, Intra-Africa Mobility Grants for Junior Female Researchers, and AGNES Intra-Africa Mobility Grants for Junior Researchers, generally for male and female candidates. This grant aims to strengthen the scientific capacity and networking of young researchers in Africa through active cooperation of AGNES and potential AGNES members. Interested applicants may be from any academic discipline but must be officially registered for doctoral degree at a university or tertiary institute in sub-Saharan Africa and must be a national of a sub-Saharan African country. Applicants must demonstrate clearly that their work is relevant towards development in sub-Saharan African countries and cannot be conducted in the home country. Only applicants with an identified scientific host and mutually agreed upon proposal or work schedule will be considered the grant. Qualified applicants should submit their application forms, copy of academic transcripts, list of published articles with indication on top of their proposal, and CV whether they are applying for the AGNES Mobility Grant or AGNES PALS Mobility Grant, and a letter of invitation from the scientific host via info@agnes-h.org before 30th April 2021. For more information, email zgetanga@gmail.com or info@agnes-h.org or visit www.agnes-h.org.
Le réseau d'excellence afro-allemand en sciences Agnès est heureuse d'annoncer l'appel à candidature pour 2 de ses programmes de financement. Agnès, programme Advocating Women in Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics, PAO. Subvention de mobilité intra-africaine pour les chercheurs juniors et subvention de mobilité intra-africaine Agnès pour les chercheurs juniors, généralement pour les candidats masculins et féminins. Ces subventions visent à renforcer la capacité scientifique et la mise en réseau des jeunes chercheurs en Afrique grâce à la coopération active d'Agnès et des membres potentiels d'Agnès. Les candidats intéressés peuvent appartenir à n'importe quelle discipline universitaire, mais doivent être officiellement inscrits au doctorat dans une université ou un institut supérieur en Afrique subsaharienne et doivent être ressortissants d'un pays d'Afrique subsaharienne. Les candidats doivent démontrer clairement que leur travail est pertinent pour le développement dans les pays d'Afrique subsaharienne et ne peut pas être mené dans le pays d'origine. Seuls les candidats ayant un note scientifique identifié et une proposition ou un calendrier de travail mutuellement convenu seront pris en considération pour la subvention. Les candidats qualifiés doivent soumettre leur formulaire de candidature, copie de la transcription académique, liste des articles publiés avec des indications en plus de leur proposition et CV s'ils demandent et subvention de mobilité Agnès ou à subvention de mobilité Agnès Pause et une lettre d'invitation de l'hôte scientifique via info@agnes-h.org avant le 30 avril 2021. Et pour plus d'informations, envoyez un courriel à zgetanga@gmail.com ou encore à info@agnes-h.org ou visitez le www.agnes-h.org.
That is all for today's update. Event Update is brought to you by the Association of African Universities. Please follow us on our social media platforms at Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, AAUTV_African Universities on Twitter, and AAUTV Official on Instagram. You can also visit our dedicated website at tv.aau.org for more of Event Update. I am Isabella Titahinakwan.
Je suis Imelda Amoudji.
The Association of African Universities, AAU, Africa's apex higher education organization, invites stakeholders to its 15th quadrennial General Conference from 5th to the 8th of July 2021. The theme is the future of African higher education. The conference will be held virtually and hosted by the government of Ghana under 6 sub-themes as follows. Sub-theme 1, the future of African higher education post-COVID-19. Sub-theme 2, contributions of African higher education institutions to addressing the challenges linked to the COVID-19 pandemic. Sub-theme 3, contributions of African higher education institutions in achieving sustainable development goals. Sub-theme 4, funding of African higher education institutions in the face of unpredictable economy. Sub-theme 5, mainstreaming e-learning and the digital divide. Sub-theme 6, contributions of the diaspora to African higher education. Expected participants include ministries of higher education, academics, researchers and research organizations, regional economic communities, regional educational bodies like IUCEA, CAMES, and Saruwa, the organized private sector and captains of industry, development partners and other education stakeholders. The AAU's 15th quadrennial General Conference is here. To register, kindly go to the link below, and for further enquiries, please visit the website www.event.aau.org/GenCon or send an email to secgen@aau.org and copy info@aau.org. AAU, the voice of higher education in Africa.
L'Association des universités africaines, AUA, l'organisation faîtière de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique, invite toutes les parties prenantes à sa 15e conférence générale quadriennale qui se tiendra du 5 au 8 juillet 2021. Le thème de cette conférence est l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain. La conférence se tiendra virtuellement et se sera accueillie par le gouvernement du Ghana. Elle comprend les 6 sous-thèmes principaux suivants. Sous-thème 1, l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain après la COVID-19. Sous-thème 2, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains pour le relevé des défis liés à la pandémie COVID-19. Sous-thème 3, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains à la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable. Sous-thème 4, financement des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains face à une économie imprévisible. Sous-thème 5, intégration de l'apprentissage en ligne et de la fracture numérique. Sous-thème 6, contribution de la diaspora à l'enseignement supérieur africain. Les participants attendus comprenant entre autres les ministères de l'enseignement supérieur, des universitaires, les chercheurs et organismes de recherche en Afrique et au-delà, les organismes éducatifs régionaux comme la IUCEA, la CAMES, la Saruwa, le secteur privé organisé et les chefs d'industrie, les partenaires de développement, agences et organisations internationales et d'autres acteurs de l'éducation. La 15e conférence générale quadriennale de l'AUA est là. Pour vous inscrire et participer, veuillez visiter la tinyurl.com/AAUGC 2021 et pour plus d'informations sur la conférence, veuillez visiter le site web event.aau.org/GenCon ou envoyer un courriel à secgen@aau.org et copier info@aau.org. L'AUA, la voie de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique.
The Association of African Universities, AAU, Africa's apex higher education organization, invites stakeholders to its 15th quadrennial General Conference from 5th to the 8th of July 2021. The theme is the future of African higher education. The conference will be held virtually and hosted by the government of Ghana under 6 sub-themes as follows. Sub-theme 1, the future of African higher education post-COVID-19. Sub-Team 2, contributions of African higher education institutions to addressing the challenges linked to the COVID-19 pandemic. Sub-Team 3, contributions of African higher education institutions in achieving sustainable development goals. Sub-Team 4, funding of African higher education institutions in the face of unpredictable economy. Sub-Team 5, mainstreaming e-learning and the digital divide. Sub-Team 6, contributions of the diaspora to African higher education. Expected participants include ministries of higher education, academics, researchers and research organizations, regional economic communities, regional educational bodies like IUCEA, CAMES, and Sarua, the organized private sector and captains of industry, development partners and other education stakeholders. The AAU's 15th quadrennial General Conference is here. To register, kindly go to the link below, and for further enquiries, please visit the website www.event.aau.org/GenCon or send an email to secgen@aau.org and copy info@aau.org. AAU, the voice of higher education in Africa.
L'Association des universités africaines, AUA, l'organisation faîtière de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique, invite toutes les parties prenantes à sa 15e conférence générale quadriennale qui se tiendra du 5 au 8 juillet 2021. Le thème de cette conférence est l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain. La conférence se tiendra virtuellement et ce sera accueilli par le gouvernement du Ghana. Elle comprend les 6 sous-thèmes principaux suivants. Sous-thème 1, l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain après la COVID-19. Sous-thème 2, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains pour le relevé des défis liés à la pandémie COVID-19. Sous-thème 3, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains à la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable. Sous-thème 4, financement des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains face à une économie imprévisible. Sous-thème 5, intégration de l'apprentissage en ligne et de la facture numérique. Sous-thème 6, contribution de la diaspora à l'enseignement supérieur africain. Les participants attendus comprenant entre autres les ministères de l'enseignement supérieur, des universitaires, les chercheurs et organismes de recherche en Afrique et au-delà, les organismes éducatifs régionaux comme la IUCEA, la CAMES, la Sarua, le secteur privé organisé et les chefs d'industrie, les partenaires de développement, agences et organisations internationales et d'autres acteurs de l'éducation. La 15e conférence générale quadriennale de l'AUA est là. Pour vous inscrire et participer, veuillez visiter la tinyurl.com/AAUGC 2021 et pour plus d'informations sur la conférence, veuillez visiter le site web event.aau.org/GenCon ou envoyer un courriel à secgen@aau.org et copier info@aau.org. L'AUA, la voix de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique.
Hi, welcome to 30 Minutes with HR, your premier human resource show for employers and employees. Today, we are discussing total rewards, direct compensation, and indirect compensation. I am your host, Rita Kusi. 30 Minutes with HR is a partnership program between KUSI Consulting and the Association of African Universities. Today, I am joined by Mr. Gideon Asare, who is the Managing Director of Adansi Travels.
Hello.
And I'm also joined by Mrs. Patience Omabo. She is actually the PA to the CEO, and she's also the human resource personnel at Nationwide Medical Insurance.
Hello.
Welcome to our set.
Thank you.
When we come back, we are going straight into today's topic, so we'll be right back.
Everybody wants to be the best at what they do for the people they're doing it for. That's why, after 13 years of providing you with top-notch healthcare nationwide, the market leader in the private health insurance industry is going the extra mile for you. Instead of hopping from pharmacy to pharmacy, now you get your prescription drugs delivered straight to your doorstep. We will restock your chronic medication on the regular, so you don't have to stress to keep track. We provide on-site clinics that offers you professional medical consultation from the comfort of your office. Enjoy these amazing benefits and so much more by signing on to Nationwide Medical Insurance today. Call us on 0800-222-222 or email us at info@nationwidemh.com. Nationwide, we go the extra mile so you don't have to. Join the healthcare family.
So welcome back and thank you for joining us for today's episode. Today we are discussing total rewards, direct and indirect compensation. We're actually discussing more about indirect compensation because we all know employees love to get paid, right? We all love our money on the job, which is actually the #1 way to keep your employees satisfied. So today we are discussing indirect compensation. So Gideon is going to actually talk a little bit about what they do at Adanse Travels, and Patience is going to tell us a bit about the indirect compensation that they offer employers and employees at Nationwide Medical Insurance. So Gideon, can you tell us a bit about yourself and a bit about Adanse Travels?
Yes, sure. So my name is Gideon Asare. I'm the Managing Director of Adanse Travels. And Adanse Travels is a leading travel company that is specialized in tour packages. We do airline ticketing, both domestic and international. We also offer travel insurance to our guests. And we also have a service called MICE. The MICE is meetings, incentives, conferences, and events.
Okay.
Which more or less very related to the topic today. So
Exciting.
we provide incentive travel packages for corporate clients who want to reward their employees with travel. And we very specialize in that sector because over the years we've been handling a lot of groups to many destinations. So with Adanse, we don't really limit